Hey guys, my name is Ryan, and welcome to Overwatch Central. Now, by the time that this video goes out, we've probably done a video talking about the Clockwork Vendetta composition. This is a very weird comp that we'll go over in this video, with the people actually made it. Today, I talked with Mini-Me, who is the main tank player, the Orisa one trick for Clockwork Vendetta, on their composition, why it works in their opinion, and just generally, is it going to be the next GOATs? Spoiler alert, they don't think so. But you can check out all of the information that they have available, and all of their details below in the description. But without further ado, let's get started. Straight off the bat, you ran a very unorthodox composition. I think there's elements in there that might be meta, like Orisa Roadhog especially, that's gone up in popularity. But how much was this Clockwork composition, you guys just been really good at your individual heroes versus the meta forming away from GOATs and moving into like bunker comp, I guess?
So we don't really think that our comp is really gonna be the next GOATs or something like that. It's not really takeover GOATs as well. Like, it's just better on most maps, but the thing is just that we're all like extremely talented on our own heroes and know what to do in most situations, and yeah, people just didn't know what to do against us, and they kinda got surprised by it. Didn't know if they should play GOATs or if they should play spam comps or whatever, and yeah, we just surprised most people.
Now, the Orisa and the Roadhog I get, but Mei Torbjorn, why does that work so well? Like, can you sort of describe, obviously it's heroes that these guys have picked up in particular, but was there any reason to it? Or was it like, I just want to get really good at Torbjorn and we're going to make this work? Like, was there a reason why you ran Mei and Torbjorn in this like very stationary?
For the team itself, it wasn't really a reasoning behind that we picked up Torb and Mei. It was more like, we looked at the ladder and saw people one-tricking Torb and one-tricking Mei, and they were extremely high level. We just picked them up. Like, we even asked other Genji one-tricks or Symmetra one-tricks, but like, they just didn't want to play with us, I guess. Or didn't want to put in the time. And yeah, we just ended up with Purge as well on Doomfist at the start. And now with Mei Torbjorn, and we figured out that it really works extremely well. And now we're kind of just sticking with it for now, and yeah, running Torb and Mei on pretty much every single map.
I guess the question then is, why does it work? Like, what did you realize about the composition that made you go, oh, this is really strong? Like, for GOATs, for example, it makes sense. Just stack the heal and get loads of tanks. Why is it so effective when running these two heroes in like a stationary kind of composition?
We think that the biggest synergy is because you have like Roadhog and Orisa. Those two heroes are extremely good at like picking off targets one by one. So the only weakness is if the entire enemy team pushes into you and just runs over you pretty much. But then Mei and Torbjorn come in. They can either, like with Mei wall, you can split off the team and pick them off like this one by one. Or with Torbjorn you have insane amount of shield damage and just burst on the Reinhardt and yeah, just pretty much make every single main tank's life the living hell and just burn them down.
It's trying to shorten those weaknesses that any form of Orisa comp has. What is the problem then? Like, why isn't this going to be the new meta, I guess? Like, I don't want you to sort of say, yeah, this is our composition's like biggest weaknesses, but like, is there anything that stands out to you as like, there's only so far this can go? Like, for example, it doesn't work on control just because it's not as dynamic. Is there anything that springs up to why this isn't going to be the next GOATs?
I think the main reason is because it still has quite some weaknesses, and GOATs is just better all around. But if you run it on the right maps and the right position, I think it should be better than GOATs a lot of times. It just depends on where you play it and how you play it. And I don't think that many teams have like the basic knowledge that we have on our heroes, or the advanced knowledge rather, that they can just play it on every single map, that they're gonna be successful with it.
That makes sense, especially for like main tank. Like, speaking to another Orisa player that I know, he complained that it's basically all Orisa at the highest tier now. So there are some semblances and elements of Orisa especially being incredibly meta right now and really strong. So as a main tank player for Orisa, why do you think that is?
I think it has to do with something with goats being meta for such a long time that people kind of forgot how to play anything else. And yeah, Orisa is extremely good at punishing bad positioning. And since people don't really play goats anymore because it's a lot weaker in ranked, people just start to pick up Orisa and realize that you pretty much have an infinite shield and you can pick up people one by one if they just make one single mistake. And yeah, it's just a really solid pick most of the time, and you can't, usually in ranked, you can't really get punished for it.
How far were you expecting this team and composition to go? Like, you're in contenders now. Like, because that's the thing about open division teams, especially leading up to trials and getting to the playoffs and stuff, is, you know, there tends to be like picking and choosing various players to try and put a roster together. Like, did you expect to go this far with this composition? Like, it's just more of a shocking story, really, for a lot of people that a composition like this has done as well as it has.
The thing that a lot of people don't really know is that we already had one open division run before this with a similar team. It was called No UOTP back then. It was kind of just a meme team, but still we tried our best. Back then we ran, instead of, I think, Zenyatta, we had Lucio. And instead of Torbjorn, we had Doomfist. And I think the comp still worked because we got rank 4 back then. But we just didn't get to contenders and didn't get that far as we did this season. But it still worked out. And yeah, it was mainly about the fact that people couldn't really practice against us because we don't scrim at all. And so that way people don't really know what to play against us. And yeah, now we figured out that Torb and Zenyatta just work better because you have way more pressure with those heroes. I think we have like the best lineup that we could have for contenders that we have right now. So we're gonna be interested in how far we can actually go with this.
With the Overwatch League, then, you can't see any teams looking at what you're doing, even if they have really good Torbjorn players. Like, you don't expect like a Korean roster to just take your lineup and try and make it work. Like, from the sounds of it, you think that it's a lot more than just a composition. It has to be, those heroes have to be really good at those heroes too.
I've heard some facts that some OVL teams just, like, they at least talked about our comp and about our team and why it works and why nobody wins against it. But I doubt that a team really seriously is going to pick it up and be like, okay, this is the next new thing and we're going to run it actually on some maps. Like, I don't think people are going to take it that far, but at least like they know that we exist and they know that our comp exists as well. So that's kind of interesting.
That must be quite fun as well, considering that Goats came from a very similar sort of spot, like an open division team, getting into contenders, doing as well as they did. Have recent changes made it a lot easier to play these heroes too? Now that Goats is a lot less popular, is it now a time that we are going to see, especially a recent Roadhog, a lot more anyway, regardless of how much of a niche composition I suppose it would be from you guys? Do you still expect to see a recent Roadhog go up in popularity in highest like tiers?
It depends if we're like talking about actual competitive games like contenders or OWL or just normal ranked at higher levels. Because I think in ranked we're gonna see a lot more Orisa Hog, simply because it's easier to play and you don't need the coordination usually. But yeah, as I said, in actual competitive play, you're not really gonna see that much Orisa Hog from what I've seen.
Just because Goats teams are more coordinated and can work around it.
Yeah, Goats is still gonna be the biggest thing from what I've seen, so. But we'll see, it might just change in a second and people are gonna run our comp suddenly, so we never know.
Like, I guess with the meta then, what would you like to see change just as a whole?
I mean, I would love to see a 2-2-2 lock. Like, just forcing people to actually play 2 tanks and 2 DPS would be huge for the game, I think. But then you would, like, only see Bunker. From what I've experienced, like, Bunker just destroys every other tank lineup. And they would at least have to nerf Orisa Hog, in my opinion. Or just buff the other tanks, whatever they're gonna go with. But yeah, I would just love to see more variety when it comes to rank, because for such a long time it has only been Goats and only Goats this one comp. And now for like a few weeks it has only been Orisa Hog for so many maps and so many people. And it should be an environment where you can pick every single tank duo, and it's a viable thing to pick. Of course, it has to be, depend on the map as well, but it should just at least be viable on some maps that you play Monkey Diva or Randall Zarya. Not just the same comp on every single map like it is usually right now.
Yeah, right. That makes sense. How many players in your like roster of 6 were one tricks that just, you know, exclusively played one hero? Especially in your like Open Division Trials games, who just played the one hero and who switched?
I think I personally was the only real one trick in this team.
Just playing Orisa.
Like, of course, the others, yeah, pretty much, unless I have to like last second stall something and they go ham. And other than that, I really only play Orisa I only played Orisa in our games. But I think Moose switched a lot to for example, Diva, or every now and then he picked Hammond.
Mm-hmm. That was your Roadhog player, right?
Yeah, exactly, a Roadhog player, and our DPS lineup can flex to anything pretty much. They just prefer the 2 heroes that they play. And the most flexible part, which is kind of surprising, is our support lineup. Both Suta and Mankmata are insanely talented on DPS as well.
Yeah, I saw one switch to Widowmaker on the Eternal game for Ruins. I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, Mankmata has, I think he peaked even with DPS, not with support. He peaked in top 10 by playing pretty much only Widowmaker, so that's kind of impressive. He can carry on this hero as well, but like we still mainly stick with our 2 comps that are double support lineup and solo heal mercy with Widow. That's pretty much the 2 comps that we play in ranked in competitive play.
And it works across all the different map types, right? I assume there's going to be some areas where, like Control, it can be a bit awkward. Or does that work out better than expected?
It's working out way better now. Like at the beginning, we had huge issues with Control. We never really could get control of the point and just were on the back foot most of the time. But yeah, now that we've got a lot of practice in, we know what to play, how to play it, and yeah, how to take the point. And when we've got the point, we usually never lose it. So that's another positive of this comp. I think the mode that we struggle most with is 2CP, surprisingly. We kind of just never win those maps, I guess.
That's actually quite surprising considering it's used the most on defense, right? I guess in competitive, it makes the most sense. With you saying this sort of like you one-tricked your way to Orisa, we were talking before we started and you were a support player way back when and have switched over to Orisa. One-tricking used to be such an issue like a year and a half ago that people used to hate one-tricks. But now it seems that nobody seems to care anymore. Like, what is your take from going from somebody that was playing a whole different role to then just grinding out Orisa? No doubt through a period where Orisa also wasn't very good. So how was that like for you? And would you recommend people just one-tricking a hero in order to improve on them?
So the thing with one-tricking, it's kind of a difficult topic because when I started out like 1 year ago, I think, right after World Cup, I only played Orisa and I got a ton of hate for it from all kinds of people on ranked. People just kept on avoiding me. I got banned even 2 times for 1 day, and yeah, the hate just kept on going in. But I knew that I want to practice this hero and get the full potential out of it. So I had to play it on every single map just to learn how to play this hero on every single map against every single comp. And yeah, people just kind of made fun of me at the start and said, why would you ever one-trick a hero that's that boring to play? But I personally just see things in heroes that other people don't usually see. Like I see the more like hidden gems in heroes, I guess. And I wouldn't really recommend it to anyone. You have to have a really tough skin as well to get through it, but also you have to be extremely talented and dedicated to your one hero. Because if you don't really win every single map with your hero and you know that another hero would be a better pick, then why would you one-trick? It's just, yeah, you're basically thrown a game, like many people told me, but I personally think that I'm just the best on this hero, and like not in the world, but I'm the best on this hero, and on any other hero I would just not be as good and wouldn't contribute to the team as well as I would on Orisa.
is there anything else that you want to say about the state of the game, sort of before we finish? Because we've covered a lot, you know, like the composition that you run in, the meta, like your perspective as a one-trick player. Kind of, for all of those Clockwork Vendetta fans out there, I guess what do you have to say about the state of the game?
I feel like the game is in an okay spot right now. I would still love to see some changes, like, for example, Hidden Profile is one of the worst additions that they've ever added to the game. And I still see no reason behind it, because it just adds an extra layer of toxicity most of the time. And stuff like forcing people to only play solo or duo queue in GM is also kind of questionable. People were joking back then because we never really scrimmed as a team. And sometimes we 6-stacked in ranked and just said that's our scrim pretty much. And now people joke that we can't scrim anymore and we're gonna drop back to 4.2k and stuff. But yeah, I think most of us are still doing fine, so that's not really the issue, but just the fact that you can't really play with friends anymore with more than one is kinda sad, and it also kinda ruins the team-based aspect of the game, where you just go in as a 6-stack and work together as a team and not really just play against each other. But I think overall the game is kinda okay right now. I used to enjoy it way more back then, but I still play it every single day pretty much, so it can't be too bad, but yeah, some changes would be nice.
But I guess penultimately then, this composition that you're running is good, mostly because of the players running it as opposed to the comp itself being like GOAT's level of bulletproof.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say that, like, if any other team would pick up this comp, they wouldn't just casually get into contenders suddenly. It doesn't really work the way. You gotta work hard with what you want to run. Like, GOAT's teams don't just randomly pick up any other comp and they would suddenly succeed with it. You gotta practice hard with it and see what works best for you and adapt to the enemy team as well. So it doesn't really work the way that our comp is just bulletproof and you can just run it to win games.
Yeah, nobody's going to run it in like ranked, like GOATs, where you can just pick the heroes. And
I've heard from other people that they're already getting annoyed by people saying, please just go Clockwork Vendetta comp. There's actually people that start up with stuff like this, but like, it's an easy comp to play, that's the thing. It's not really that difficult to play okay with it. So people in ranked are gonna play it no matter what, but I doubt that it's gonna be as big as GOAT is right now in ranked.
For sure. And finally, where could people see more from you personally, but also your team? You know, plug your Twitches, Twitters, and I guess when the next season of Contenders is starting.
So the next season Contenders starts relatively soon. I think it's like 3 weeks or something. But like, people are gonna hear about it anyway. Blizzard should announce it rather big this season from what I've heard. And yeah, people can contact us on our Twitter page mostly and our Discord. Our Twitter page is Clock Vendetta. And that's usually where we contact our fans or any questions that people want to ask us. That's where people can contact us.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. You can check out all of Clockwork Vendetta's details in the description below, like I said. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.